Okay, hello and welcome to the CultCast, the most mediocre Apple podcast you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Leander and Griffin. And joining me today, we have D. Griffin Jones coming in from Ohio. Welcome, Griffin.
Good evening.
And also Graham Barr coming in from Barcelona. Hey, Graham.
Hola.
Hola to you. ¿Cómo estás?
I guess we probably should have mentioned last week that Lewis is going to be gone for another this show and another 2 weeks after this. He's the kind of American to make fun of Europeans for going on like really long vacations. And then he himself disappears in Barcelona and the United Kingdom. I don't know where he is now.
Germany.
For a full month. Yeah. So
I know, yeah. Very, very European of him. Yeah, I know. He, if he comes back, we'll see. Who knows?
He's joined us Eurotrash now.
Oh, he really is. Yeah, him and his wife are obsessed with Italy. They go to Italy every opportunity they get. He goes to a truffle festival every spring, where it's a week-long festival of truffles, and they get to taste the whole town. It gets turned over to truffles, and they get to try all these different truffles, and everything's got truffles on it. I'd be ill as a dog, after about a day of eating that stuff because it's way too rich for me. But he has a stronger constitution.
I'm surprised his wife is still allowed in the country of Italy. I'm sure you can only be there a certain number of times without being a citizen, but
that's a
she
good
pushes
point.
the limit.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why they're in Germany. I think maybe to get the visa stamp or whatever they need.
Get Interpol off their backs.
Yeah. They well, anyway, this week we're going to talk about a whole bunch of super fascinating topics. And we're going to be talking about the machines that are going to be coming that were expected this year, but are now delayed until next year. And there's a whole bunch of hardware that is expected early in the year from Apple for some pretty exciting stuff. And Graham is going to show us how to use the recovery, whatever it is, in the
heart rate recovery.
I actually do use this myself. I completely forgot what it was though. Yeah, heart rate recovery, which is actually a really cool feature, isn't it? It's supposed to tell you when you're good to go for exercise or not. And we have a review from Griffin, which I thought went really well last week when he showed us his play date, and he's got something else to show us this week. So this week's show comes to us courtesy of Apple Core. Graham, would you like to tell us about Apple Core?
I would love to tell you about Apple Core. So, Apple Core is a podcast that I present with my co-host, Charlie Sorrell, who is an occasional guest of this show as well. And we have a regular recurring guest in Mr. D. Griffin Jones, who has joined us on multiple episodes of Apple Core, and I'm hoping will be joining us again real soon. So Apple Core is a podcast about the history of Apple, and in each episode we travel back in time to look at a different Apple product and consider what it tells us about where Apple is heading. And, I think one of the really interesting things to me about Apple as a company is the way these patterns in what they do reoccur. So there's a way in which Apple thinks about things. And even as the leadership has changed over the years, a lot of these patterns have remained constant. So I think, if you're an old geezer like me, it's interesting to go back and remember the glory days of Apple as Steve Jobs' return in 1997 and all the incredible things that he did. And even going back before that, we've done episodes on stuff like the Apple Newton, which Griffin joined us to discuss, being a Newton aficionado himself. And I think it's interesting as a trip down memory lane to think about Apple's history. It's such a fascinating company. But right. I think also looking at the history of Apple gives us clues about where the company might be heading next. And, that was very much one of our ideas about the podcast is even if you're not interested in Apple history, if for any reason you want to know what might be next on Apple's agenda, then having an understanding about where the company has come from can really help with that. So, I think it's a fun show. We have a lot of fun in each episode. The last one we did, which Griffin joined us on, was about iOS 7, which was the last major redesign of iOS before iOS 26 that we're now looking at this September. And it introduced this flat design style. And so we look at where flat design came from, because it wasn't Apple's idea. And we look at the story of skeuomorphism and the boardroom drama that led to scrapping Steve Jobs' favorite visual language of skeuomorphism in favor of Johnny Ive's minimalism. And so I think that's a really interesting story. There's lots of backstabbing, lots of drama, and lots of design insights too. And so, yeah, wherever you get your podcasts, or head on over to applecorepod.com and check it out. Would really love you to join us on that podcast as well as this one.
Yeah. Applecorepod.com.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And so actually, Graham, back to you again. You've got the first story. We were all hoping to get new MacBook Pros this year with the M5 chip, but you've got some bad news.
It potentially bad news if the rumors are correct. That's right. Yeah. And in fact, this story relates to the listener question that we had last week. Last week, a listener asked us, should he buy a MacBook Pro now, or should he wait until September when the M5 MacBook Pro would be coming out? And well, newsflash, it now sounds like the M5 MacBook Pro might not be coming out this fall at all. So let's see. Apple has been planning to release new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros, codenamed J714 and J716, later this year with M5 chips, Bloomberg reported on Thursday. But Apple is now internally targeting a launch early next year. Bloomberg sources apparently did not give a reason for the potential delay, but it doesn't seem to be related to the M5 processor, given that an M5-powered iPad Pro is allegedly still on track to launch this fall, replacing the M4 version from spring 2024. So a redesign is reportedly coming for the MacBook line, but not until the M6 version, which is currently expected in late 2026. I guess as soon as I heard the story, what I thought is, I hope they're delaying the launch of the M5s because we're getting some redesign. But it doesn't sound like that's the case. The redesign is potentially not coming for another year anyway, so it's not immediately apparent what this delay is about. And this is a rumor, so we don't know if it is a delay. Yeah, and even if it's not really a delay, because Apple never said they were coming out in September anyway. But I guess
Right.
this is kind of like, this is just us in the blogosphere. Like, oh my gosh, Apple's not releasing them in September. Well, they never said they were going to,
It has been the pattern for a few years where like 3 out of the last 4 MacBook Pros have all been released in October or November.
Yeah.
The first M1 Pro and Max MacBook Pros with the M1 generation. The only one that was delayed out of the fall into the next spring was the M2 generation MacBook Pros. But my understanding is that was because of, the last, wave of COVID supply chain things pushing things back. I don't know why they're delaying the M5. I guess they just want to debut it on the iPad Pro first. I don't know.
Well, my guess is this
about.
relates to binning, would be my assumption, that the yields are not what they want yet, or not what they need. And maybe, because the foundry, when they make these chips, then they test them, and some of them they can't get all the GPUs to work. And so, they might have some which are of a quality that are sufficient for the iPad Pro, but the yields of the ones that are of the quality to use for a MacBook Pro are not being manufactured in sufficient volume yet. I think that's most likely. This is a new process for the M5s, and I just think their foundries are still getting up to speed with the new process. And this is like cutting edge physics, let alone manufacturing, the stuff that they're doing here to make these incredible chips. And so things don't always go to a smooth annual plan. They're butting up against the physical limits of reality as we're getting down to these tiny processes. And so that would be my best guess. If it's true that Apple was going to ship MacBook Pros this fall and is now not going to ship these M5 MacBook Pros until spring next year, then I would think that yields of the chips is the likely culprit.
Yeah.
I guess the other reason that I just thought of is that, well, the iPad Pro only gets the base M5 chip, but the MacBook Pros get the M5, M5 Pro, and M5 Max. So it could be a delay on those bigger chips that's pushing things down, or later into the schedule.
As well. Yeah, well, they're just not getting the yields on the Pro and Max. Yeah,
that sounds like the most likely explanation, especially if there's no redesign coming. I mean, what other components could possibly be constraining the supply? Like you said, it's a new chip, a new process. They're probably, like you said, having trouble getting this is 3 products they're going to be launching with the new chip. Now it's going to be constrained just to one, and the other 2 can come along when they've got a good back supply of the necessary chips.
Which is a bit surprising because I think we've heard that the M5 isn't going to be a die shrink. It's still going to be the a 3 nanometer chip, but it'll be on a slightly improved 3 nanometer process that TSMC has. But I think we've like the gist that we've got from the rumor mill is that also that the M5 isn't going to be a very dramatic leap forward. So I guess I would think that it wouldn't be a particularly.
Are they making this one in Arizona yet, or are they
manufactured.
being made in Taiwan?
Arizona, the plant that TSMC is building in Arizona is intentionally not going to be the latest technology. I think they said that'll be like a 5 nanometer plant. So they would only be able to manufacture some of their older chips.
Wow,
there.
really? Huh. I went and visited it with my father-in-law. We drove out. He lives in Phoenix. Yeah, it's
really?
massive. It's an enormous, enormous plant. And the whole area now is like little Taiwan because all the workers that came over to live there. So there's all these in all the strip malls, these Taiwanese cafes and restaurants, and it's right on the edge of the desert, in Phoenix, and it took them. Oh my God, it was a huge building project. You can see it actually from Camelback. Thunderbird Park, one of the parks in the middle of the city, that looks out over the sort of northwest of the city. You can see this enormous plant that, because also Phoenix is very low lying, just sprawling suburbs across the desert floor, flat as a pancake. And then there's this massive, massive plant, right, that you can just sort of see in the distance. So it's quite something.
You take any pictures of it?
I no, because they just wouldn't, it just wouldn't translate into a good picture. I mean, it's something you can see with your eyes, but nothing you can. And of course, we couldn't get in to see the inside of the plant, and the outside isn't that interesting. They have some interesting tubing. It's a bit Pompidou Center, but that's about it.
It'll be all their cooling systems, I guess.
I think so. Yeah. I'm surprised that it's.
Well, you have to wear a bunny suit to go inside.
Oh, sure.
Like the old Intel commercials.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. More than likely. All right. Let's move on. So, Griffin, you're going to tell us about.
Everything that is coming.
Everything that is coming next year, right? Which is actually a boatload of stuff, and and I'm particularly excited about one product. But anyway, go ahead, tell us what is coming next year.
So we have the new MacBook Pro coming in the spring, the M5 iPad Pro coming the autumn. As for the M4 iPad Air, Bloomberg reports that the updates will land in March or April next year. A refreshed $350 base iPad with a faster processor will be launching alongside it. So updates to all 3 iPads within the next 12 months. Both tablets will get a minor spec bump, no major design changes, but they're pretty good design, so I don't think anybody's upset about that. Apple also plans to launch the iPhone 17e, so this is apparently now going to get annual updates. It'll look similar to the 16e, but will include the A19 processor to match this year's iPhone 17 line, according to the report. And they're going to adopt a yearly refresh cycle with that going forward, so that's good. I think everybody's hoping, will the 17e get MagSafe? I think that'll be the big question.
Right, that was the big thing missing, wasn't it, from the 16e? And of course, it's one of the best features you can get on a phone. So it's a big thing missing. If they did do that, though, I mean, then what would stop you? Wouldn't it cannibalize the regular iPhone lineup? Because the difference is it's got the same processor, it's got MagSafe, it looks more or less the same.
I don't think that would be a big thing stopping them now, because you could still buy a 16e and just put it in a case that has MagSafe on it.
Or you can stick stickers on it.
I don't think Apple's worried about cannibalizing sales as long as they're being cannibalized by Apple.
Right.
They just want you to buy an iPhone no matter what.
Yeah, that's always been their philosophy, yeah.
Apple has such a checkered history with the low-cost iPhone. Has never nailed it. And they definitely haven't been really... I mean, they've released, 3 now that have been 18 months apart or something like that. So they've never been able to hit that yearly cadence, which seems kind of crazy. That they haven't managed to do that. So it's kind of welcome, I think, for price-sensitive customers. And I love Apple's low-end stuff. Like, all the budget stuff, I think, has gotten really, really good lately. The budget iPad is phenomenal. I mean, that's about as much iPad as I personally need from an iPad. And it has all the modern features now. USB-C, a full-screen design, no horrible home button anymore. And it's plenty snappy enough, for the kind of media consumption I use an iPad for. I think it's absolutely and the price is crazy. You could pick it up for like $2. It's now priced at what was the price at $350? But you can usually get it for about $300, can't you? And recently went down to $279, I think, or something like that. So I think it's a bargain.
And I genuinely loved the 16E. Like when I had it, I felt genuinely sad when I went back to my 16 Pro because like it's you need to go to an Apple store and hold one in your hands and you'll just be like, oh my gosh, this phone is so light. The lightweight is just incredible. Wow. Here's a big surprise though. Apple supposedly plans to launch a new studio display early next year as well. So they released a studio display and they haven't revised it, I think, since 2021 or 2022. And of course, all of these, third-party display makers have now caught up to it. So you can buy like a 5K 27-inch display with virtually the same screen panel for like half the price now. $1,000, $800. I mean, I'm looking at one right now. I have the ViewSonic display, which actually surpasses it. It has a 75 hertz refresh rate of over 60. But it's a big problem because like a lot of these people have these nice MacBook Pros with these fancy like liquid Retina XDR super turbo displays that Apple keeps throwing on more adjectives on it, but the MacBook Pro displays are so excellent. And then you plug it into a studio display and you're looking at a worse display that's just bigger. So I think they have some room to improve that, like moving it to mini LED.
This is very much a confirming rumor because this has been on the rumor radar for a while now, the studio display. Like I got a new office and a new desk at the beginning of this year, and I wanted to get a studio display for my new desk. And because I'm an Apple fanboy, it had to be a studio display. I didn't want one of these third-party ones. And it just, because the rumors are that there is this new one coming, then I've been holding out. I will admit, contrary to my advice last week of buy it when you need it, I have been holding out. Because I'm a hypocrite. Right. So I've been holding out for the new studio display. What I did do was I thought, well, I wonder if I can buy a cheap secondhand one. And I would, if I found one at good price secondhand, I would buy that.
Is there a market?
But I haven't.
Are there any other? Is there a market for them? Are there? Do people?
Not really. When I was looking on the secondhand sites that we have in Spain, there were people like selling them for more than Apple sells them for. So no, so far I haven't found any good deals there. I would be up for a secondhand bargain there, but I haven't seen any. So I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to have a gigantic display. I do a lot of work in Adobe Premiere Pro, and I have it all on my laptop screen. And having all of those windows all jammed in together, it's hard. And stuff like After Effects as well. To have a gigantic studio display would make my life so much easier. And so, I can't wait for that.
We have still more. Apple is working on a MacBook Air refresh, likely with the M5 chip that'll also be launching in the first half of next year. And not to forget, Apple's long-rumored smart home device hub. Maybe it's a HomePod. Maybe it's just a smart display. Maybe it's a new thing. Who knows what it is?
Maybe that's it's a robot arm.
Yeah, robotic arm. But it'll only launch once the new Siri makes its public debut, so that'll probably still be in the can until 2028.
If not longer. My goodness me, yeah.
I thought this was interesting. Mark Gurman makes no mention of the rumored low-cost A18 Pro-powered MacBook that other sources are saying is coming this fall or sometime soon. Mark Gurman doesn't mention it at all, so that's curious.
What is going on? Yeah, I mean that one was going to be like $600, wasn't it? And that was a big deal. I mean, potentially a big deal. Another low cost, entry level product. It sounds really pretty good.
My guess for that, I've thought more about the price, and considering that they have the M1 Walmart MacBook Air at what $650. They have and then on the other end they have the entry level M4 MacBook Air at $1,000. I'm thinking this new computer is probably going to be $800 full price from Apple, and in the education store, $750. So $100 price increase over the M1 MacBook Air, but it is a new model, and they'll be able to say, oh, well, this is new. It'll probably have more memory than the M1 MacBook Air that they sell through Walmart, because that's still only at 8 gigabytes.
Yeah, which is too little.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I'm thinking a strong $750 in the education store and $800 at apple.com.
Good theory. Sounds right.
Which is $200 more than what everybody's speculating, which is how you know it's probably going to be true.
Right, yeah. I like the logic there.
Yeah, Apple doesn't do cheap. They do value, but they don't do cheap.
And it'll still be a good value. Like the single core performance on the A18 Pro is faster than the M1 by a significant margin. Wow. It'll still be a faster computer in a lot of respects.
Crazy.
But
Yeah. Well, value is for sure. I mean, everything is top notch. The silicone, the industrial design. They finally got nailed things like the keyboards and the trackpads are wonderful. I mean, they're just really, really beautiful machines. I've got an M2 MacBook Air, and it's just unbelievably gorgeous. Can't believe how lovely it is. I've got a whole bunch of like old power books in the basement that we've destroyed over the years, and I haven't got around to recycling yet. And I look back on those, and I think, oh my God, they really are kind of not that great.
don't recycle them, mail them to me.
Oh, really? Do you want them? I got a whole bunch of old
I
Apple
do.
hardware down there.
Ooh, they'll retire to my farm upstate, and they'll live a happy life.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes it easy for me. I'll box it all up.
Actually, just last night, I was going through some stuff with my partner, and they apparently discovered they had an iPod that was actually on my want list, the 6th generation iPod Nano, the tiny little square one that's like a proto Apple Watch.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, this is exciting. I plugged it in, and just this morning I went to take a look at it. And although it had a charge and it was working perfectly fine last night, this morning the screen had popped off because when I plugged it in, the battery had expanded.
Do you still use? Are you still using yours, Graham?
I have a whole collection of. I bought every iPod when it came out, because I'm that old, and I still have them all. Some of them don't work. Others only work when they're plugged in, and some of them kind of work sporadically. But I also have this. I have an iPod Hi-Fi. I know you've got one in your garage, haven't you, Leander? I think you mentioned that in a previous episode.
Yep, I do.
And I love that, and I love sticking my iPods into it and listen to all the dad rock that I have on it from way back in the aughts.
I got two of the old original iPods, and one of them actually came from the launch. Unfortunately, that too has got a swelling battery, Griffin. So I'm afraid to touch it because I think it's going to explode in my hands any minute. And I've been debating whether to revive it or not. I charged one. The trouble is, one of them has got that flashing sign where it's got where it can't recognize the hard drive. That's the one with the battery that's okay, and then the one with the dodgy battery won't go on at all. So I was wondering whether I should open them up and swap them around, but I don't know. I can't be bothered.
You could sell them to somebody who will fix them up. Like iPods, especially, have like a really long shelf life. Like just replace the hard drive, and you've got a perfectly good music player. Like people will mod them, people will put different operating systems on them, and you can find all those parts. Like although some of them are like glued together in some places, they're actually pretty easy to operate on, just because it's before the modern miniaturization technology that makes an iPhone just impossible to do surgery on.
But now with Tahoe, they're scrapping support for FireWire, so I think that's gonna be the end of the line for some of the original, for the original iPod.
Yeah, FireWire.
RIP.
My goodness. I mean, look at that now. It's a crazy connector. It's so big and chunky.
It's huge, yeah.
That was a huge breakthrough at the time, though. I can't wait to hear the Apple Core episode on that, Graham. Because actually, it was a breakthrough, wasn't it? I mean, it was a precursor to a lot of, to USB-C now, right? And
Oh, for sure, yeah. Do you know there's some topics like the original iPod which I've been saving because I feel like we really need, when we're really in our groove, then we're going to do some of those episodes. And the classic iPod one, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so the next story we have is actually a strange one because this is like about the iPhone, the colors of the new iPhone 17 series coming up in just a couple of months. It's actually much closer than you might think. And this one's a strange one because it's actually sort of it's not a rumor, it's confirmation. If Macworld, which has the scoop, is to be believed, they claim to have got hold of internal Apple documents that actually details the precise Pantone colors that are going to be used in the upcoming iPhone 17 lineup. And that's quite a score on their behalf, because usually it's like you see renders and stuff that come out of case makers or the supply chain.
Yeah, last year everybody knew that desert titanium was going to be like this sort of. The rumors were suggesting it was going to be like a bronze color, and that was just completely wrong. It ended up being barely gold. But these are like solid Pantone references.
The precise numbers. Yeah, I've never seen this before. I mean, we had the rumor the week previously was based on the lenses, wasn't it? The little lens modules, and so they were colored, and you could. So this actually confirms that previous leak, but it was difficult to sort of imagine what the thing was going to look like without having these precise color references. But anyway, now it's all spelled out, and it's actually like a bigger range of colors than Apple's offered previously, mainly because they now have this new iPhone Air model. So there are colors for the base level iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pros, and then the iPhone 17 Air. And the colors for the iPhone 17 Air, according to Macworld, are going to be lighter colors, which are supposed to emphasize the lightness of the Air. And these will be, where is it?
Black, white, light blue, and light gold.
Light gold.
So this confirms that the image that we saw last week on the show, black and white, but then just like barely blue, barely gold on the 17.
Well, this is because it's made out of titanium, isn't it? The frame for the iPhone 17 Air, because it's so thin, is going to be made out of titanium. This is related to another rumor, which was just recently, that the iPhone 17 Pros, instead of using the titanium that the current 16 Pros use, they're actually going to switch it back to aluminum. So they'll have an aluminum frame instead of a titanium frame like the current lineup does. And this, of course, is like, why would they do that? It's aluminum being a little less premium than titanium. But I think it has a lot to do with the colors. I think the colors this year, like you said, people were expecting a bronze phone, something that was kind of attractive. Instead, they got this awful desert titanium, which is kind of like, I think it left a lot of people disappointed. The titanium's a lovely material, but you can't. It's not easy to color. It's not easy to tint, which is, and I think this is the reason why Apple's reverted to aluminum with the 17 Pros, because it's easier to get more vibrant colors. And the colors there are supposed to be
black, white, gray, dark blue, and orange.
Orange, right?
Bright orange.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard the orange rumor, my mind went straight to Lewis, and it's like, finally, Lewis can have like an iPhone Pro with like a really gaudy, vulgar color. This is what he's been wanting all these years, and now he can have a bright orange phone.
Well, it's not gaudy, is it? If you look at it, it's actually kind of a it's a muted orange. It's not a really bright orange.
I guess, but my mind first of all went to the international orange on the Apple Watch Ultra, but it's not really that. It's not international orange, is it?
No, it's not as bright as that. No, not at all. It's a kind of a muted color. But Apple's long felt that the pop colors are reserved for the standard products, the base level of products, and the Pro line has always been in more muted colors. It makes it a little more sophisticated, a little more. It's not poppy. It's not bright. It's not colorful. They're muted colors. But in some ways, it's always kind of a.
It's much more orange than I was expecting. Like it's pretty vibrant.
It is
maybe
orange.
I've just had my expectations dulled for so many years, but I look at that and I think that is orange right there.
Orange. Well, every year people agonize over these decisions. What color am I going to get? And then the first thing they do is they slap it in a case. And you can't see, and you never get to see what color it is anyway. And people ask me what color my iPhone was. I literally have to go look at it to tell you. I've forgotten.
And on the standard iPhone 17, our colors are going to be black, white, steel gray. So I guess they're introducing a new neutral gray on that one. Green, purple, and light blue. So sadly, they're losing the pink, which I understand was a pretty popular color. But I mean, purple's pretty good too.
Is it a bit weird that they're calling it steel grey when it's aluminum?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Even to the point of actually problematic, because then
People think
you're calling it something which it explicitly isn't and you used to make. There's something there in the room which doesn't track through, because I just feel like Apple's legal beagles would be all over that.
The marketing names are usually like the last thing to leak, so I don't know if I would... That like steel gray might just be the name of the Pantone reference color that they're going for.
Okay,
and maybe not like what Apple's going to call it. But
it also makes me think of Zoolander. Wasn't it like
steel
steel blue was
blue
was Zoolander's? Yeah. Oh, well, you can do steel blue. Incredible.
A lot of people are saying, they've been selling us on titanium for so many years on the Pro phones. Why are they going back to aluminum? I think the benefits of titanium were kind of overstated in the first place. Aluminum is lighter than titanium, and I think stronger, which is why even on the titanium phones, they're only titanium around the outside and they're aluminum on the inside to get some of that lightness and strength back. So I think it'll be an upgrade, really, because of all the phones, the Pro Max and the Pro are the ones that really need to be lighter.
I think that it'd be interesting Cupertino's spin on that, because, I mean, you're absolutely right, but then Cupertino told us titanium was better. So I'm really looking forward to how their PR team walks that claim back now.
It's harder to manufacture. It's much harder to work with, and I'm not really sure that there's that much of a lightness premium. I mean, I only know about titanium and aluminum in bicycles, and that titanium bicycles are much nicer than aluminum bicycles, and they aren't that much heavier. And I'm not even sure that there is a difference in weight, because I think you can use a thinner grade of titanium than you can with aluminum because it's stronger. So it kind of balances out, and it's a much nicer material for a bicycle because it's actually quite pliant. So you get aluminum bikes are awful. They're the worst bikes you can buy because they're really jeery. They're extremely harsh and to ride. I hate them. But titanium bicycles are wonderful, beautiful, metal to ride on. It's actually quite it's supple enough to absorb a lot of the road chatter and the vibrations. So it's actually a really nice material for a bicycle. For a phone, I don't know. For a phone, I think that I was surprised actually they went with titanium because it's hard to work with as a metal. But they're doing unibody, so they cast the frame, and then of course they cut out everything that they don't need. So there's no issues with as far as I know, with casting and things like that. And the same with the aluminum as well. So maybe the manufacturing is very similar. They're using very similar processes.
It's not the first time they've gone from titanium to aluminum, though, is it? Because they had the titanium PowerBook G3.
Yeah.
G4.
Yeah.
They're like the first kind of Steve Jobs when he announced the PowerBook G3 with the aluminum enclosure. Sorry, the titanium
G4.
enclosure. This was before aluminum was a twinkle in Apple's eye at this point, and he said that with this laptop, it was as good as a Sony Vaio, and they combined the sex and the power. And I miss that Apple. Can you imagine Apple selling a product now as combining sex and power?
Yeah, the way he kept saying this laptop has the sex just was kind of uncomfortable, but
it wouldn't fly these days.
No, that was one of the first things he said when he came back to Apple. He had this big meeting internally, and he was yelling at everybody. He said, "You know what's wrong with this place? The products suck. They've got no sex in them anymime."
Yeah.
So he brought sexy back to Apple, and he sure did. All right, let's move on. Talking about sex, Graham, you're going to talk about how you can monitor your fitness gains with HR recovery.
Right. Yeah. So this is like a great feature of Apple Watch that I think not everyone knows about. So I thought it was worth going through this with a quick how-to. If you're starting out, training, maybe you're training for a race, or you're just training because you want to get in shape, or whatever your goals are, how are you going to monitor your fitness gains? How are you going to see, is this working? Is what I'm doing having some positive effect? And this is where I think, there are lots of different things you can look at, but I think heart rate recovery is a really great way of monitoring your fitness gains over time.
Well, quickly, Graham, what is heart rate recovery? What does it mean?
Great question. I'm glad you asked me that, Leander. So heart rate recovery is really just what it sounds like. So you've done a workout, you're exhausted, you finish your workout, you're panting and sweating. How long does it take you to recover from that workout? And the way that your Apple Watch is monitoring this is during your workout, the Apple Watch has got the heart rate monitor going, but it doesn't turn the heart rate monitor off when you finish the workout. It keeps it running for 2 minutes after the workout to see how you recover. And what we mean here is how many beats per minute your heart rate slows. So, for example, if you're doing a workout and you have 140 beats per minute, but your normal resting heart rate is 60 beats per minute, how long does it take for your heart to get from 140 to 60? And how fast has it dropped in that first minute? And that first minute from when you stop working out is the most interesting one to look at. So when you finish a workout, you can look at this on your Apple Watch, or you can look at it afterwards in the fitness app. If in the fitness app, if you go into that workout and you tap on heart rate and you scroll down past the heart rate information for the workout itself, you'll see the post-workout recovery, and it will show the first 2 minutes, and you can see how quickly it's dropping. But an even better way to look at this is if you go into the health app on your iPhone. And this has changed in iOS 26, but you either go into browse or you go into search and you look for heart rate. And then when you go into heart rate, you can then go into heart rate recovery. It's called cardio fitness. And so if you go into cardio fitness, it will show you your heart rate recovery. And this is a figure where higher is better, because what you're looking at is how many beats per minute did your heart rate go down in the first minute. And the quicker you're returning to your resting heart rate, the fitter you are, in a nutshell. And so this is a really great metric to look at. It's not the only one. There's other things you could look at too. You could look at, how fast are you able to run, or how far are you able to run, or, cycle or swim or whatever it might be. But this is a really great one to look at, because what it's showing is how is your body adapting to the exercise that you're doing. The faster you can recover from a workout indicates the gains to the health of your heart. There's two things that I would say to be aware of, though. And the first is, if you live in, say, an apartment building and you get back from a run and you actually walk up the stairs to your apartment, then it's measuring your heart rate recovery whilst you're actually doing more exercise. And so that's going to mess with your heart rate recovery. So if you're interested in monitoring your heart rate recovery over time, when you finish your workout, it's a good idea to just have 2 minutes of rest. Don't do anything. If you have to walk up the stairs to your apartment, don't do that. Just chillax for 2 minutes to just let your heart rate recover in its natural way so that you get the untarnished data. So that would be my first tip. The second tip would be, don't compare with other people, and be aware of changes in your environment that might affect your heart rate recovery as well. So what I mean by don't compare with other people is everyone's different, right? So your heart rate recovery is going to be very different to someone else's. It doesn't necessarily even tell you that you're fitter than them. It might, but it's kind of irrelevant. What we're looking at here is changes in your heart rate recovery, because that's unique to you, to see if your heart is recovering faster than it was. That's what we're looking at. But the other thing is, even when you're comparing with yourself, you do want to look at trends over time. One of the things that I've noticed, I live in Barcelona, and in the summer it gets very hot, right? And so in the summer, my heart rate recovery is much worse than in the winter, because I'm a sweaty mess and I'm panting. It's much more exhausting. And when you're still in that heat after the workout, it's going to take you longer for your heart rate to recover, because like your blood basically has to pump around your system to remove all the heat. And so heart rate recovery, I can see this when I'm looking at long-term trends in my heart rate recovery, that it gets better in the winter and then it gets worse in the summer. So look out for those patterns too. Don't be immediately disheartened if you're starting to see progress in the wrong direction, particularly, as we're moving into the summer months. But I would say if you look at changes in your heart rate over a 1 month period, especially if you're starting a new exercise regime, right, then you should actually start to see some improvement in your heart rate recovery. And that could be a really encouraging sign. It's a good thing to look out for. And I definitely, as I said, look in the health app rather than the fitness app and search for cardio fitness, and you'll find heart rate recovery there. And that's my how-to.
Very good, Graham. Very good. Yeah, I was just actually looking for it, couldn't find it anywhere. But I'm not going to waste time.
Where's that moved in iOS 26? Because now they've reduced the number of tabs at the bottom to just summary and sharing.
On iOS 26, you have to tap on the magnifying glass bottom right.
I see. Okay.
And then that brings up the sheet that used to be Browse in the old health app, and I think you can see cardio fitness in there.
Well, silly me for assuming the search button was going to take me to a search field and not the rest of the data
I know,
that I
right?
was
But
looking
this
for.
is a new UI paradigm. I think Apple's been inspired by the social media apps. In Instagram, if you tap on search, then it presents something similar of all these different things you might be looking for. And that's a new design pattern Apple's introduced in all their apps in iOS 26.
My overall cardio fitness is apparently low, because the only my exercise regime is once every 2 weeks
mowing the lawn,
which is a good 2.5 hours on a push mower.
But that means that you've got lots of opportunity for improvement to optimize your heart rate recovery.
That's the way to look at it.
And my lawn
That's the
mowing.
way to look at it. Yeah, I wish I hadn't looked at mine now. Mine's going down.
Well, that could be because you're in the summer months.
Well, it says above average, though, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the little humble brag there. Riding my bike. Actually, the measure I was most interested in was my maximum heart rate. You know, it decreases every year, and as you get to be an old geezer like me and like you, Graham, it goes down. So I can't remember what it is now. It's 220 minus your age or something like that. So mine was
although that's the model, but in reality, it's not always that.
Yeah. That's that accurate. It's a good guesstimate, isn't it?
It's a guide.
I'd actually managed to get my according to the the stats being gathered here, my maximum heart rate had increased to I think it was 176 or something like that, 178, which I guess is okay. But yeah,
well, it's always great when you're beating old Father Time, you know.
Yeah. All right, let's move on because we are running out of time. Let's talk really quickly about this week's setup, this week's featured setup. What we're looking at here is a very nicely laid out desk, which has it's a standing desk. And on it, we have a Mac Studio, which is connected to a Apple Studio display, front and center. So far, so good. But then to the left of it, we have an LG 5K monitor, which is set into portrait mode. So it's there on the left. And I don't know, like something, the first thing I thought is it's kind of unbalanced. There's something about the asymmetry of it that kind of, that bugged me. Plus the ridiculous little fake plant to the right, that bug, and that lamp.
Is that a fake plant?
I like fake plants. I don't say anything wrong about fake plants.
I couldn't stand it. And that lamp too, that lamp is really annoying me. It's got a white paper lamp that's a tall rectangular shape to the right. Maybe it looks better when it's on. Oh, and then the thing that really bugged me was the Imagine, the awful Imagine poster that's hanging above it all. But I know. But the thing that really is concerning Griffin is the placement here of the trackpad. So you can see the keyboard in the front, and then to the right of it, he's got what looks like a Logitech MX mouse. But then he's got a trackpad that's above the keyboard, and this
like some kind of anti-MacBook Pro.
It's the opposite.
Who wants that?
Very strange. So I mean, if you use it, you're gonna get your elbows all over the keyboard or your forearm. So it does.
Well, wouldn't he switch it? Wouldn't he swap the mouse and the trackpad for some reason? Some things he prefers the trackpad to the mouse. Maybe
maybe that's just its resting position, and when he's ready to use the trackpad, he moves it around. But
why would you do such a thing? Why would you have a trackpad and a mouse?
Well, I've seen a lot of people who have left trackpad, right mouse, and they use both of them in conjunction. And I've tried multiple times to be that sort of person. Well, the idea being that like you have your right hand for your mouse where you can be really precise with it, but you also have your trackpad to the left for your swiping, for if you want to swipe and do the swipe gestures.
People do that? You can connect two input devices at the same time? And you're there like a pianist, like some kind of maestro, swiping and mousing.
Well, is that a Bluetooth jog dial that he's got as well? There, that circular thing beside the trackpad. That made me think maybe he's doing video editing, and maybe he is ambidextrous because he's got that there, and that makes me think he's using the jog dial with his left hand while he's using the mouse with his right hand.
He also has a pen over on the left side of the keyboard, so maybe he's left-handed.
He's probably writing, mousing, and swiping, and jog dialing. He's an octopus.
I think this person has 6 arms.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the last thing we should mention, I think, is the speakers, which you can only see. For some reason, I thought there was a pair of them in here, but on the right-hand side next to what is that? And there's a funny little screen there too. Is that an Echo Show? It looks like an Amazon.
I think that's an Echo Show.
Yeah, but next to that Echo Show is an old Bowers and Wilkins speaker, which is pretty rare, but it's apparently supposed to be really a fabulous speaker, really, really beautiful speaker. I don't see the second one there though.
Maybe he only has one of them. I mean, I think like portrait display and horizontal display, like you get the best. It's a little unbalanced. I only think you only ever need one display, in my opinion, if you have a 27, especially if you have a 27-inch display. But I can see the benefit of it. Like if you're if you're a programmer, you want to have like a big long list of, code on a vertical display maybe, or, certain kinds of tasks are good for vertical displays.
Well, back in the 90s, people in design studios used portrait displays for like page layout. I wondered.
And he's picked a good pair here because he's picked a third-party display that matches the size and resolution of his studio display. Like it's virtually the same panel. But he only went 90% of the way though, because this picture was taken, and he very wisely had his Mac using the aerial screensaver when to take the picture, which is a great way to show off the displays without revealing anything on your desktop. However, you can see that he doesn't have the displays aligned correctly, because you can see the canyon on the vertical display is misaligned from the canyon on the horizontal display. So he needs to go into system settings and maybe arrange them properly so that they line up, because the worst thing in the world when you have multiple displays is when you move a mouse over and it throws off in like a completely wrong direction than what you're expecting.
Right. Yeah, good point.
My theory looking at this with the jog dial and the portrait display is that he edits social media videos. That's my theory. And he's got the portrait display, and if he's doing like Instagram or TikTok stories, and then he plays them big on the big screen, or like those video ad panels that are portrait as well, or you have like menu displays and stuff like Starbucks, and I think he's editing that kind of video. That's my theory.
Good.
That also explains why he has a Mac Studio as well. So I think that's a good theory that we've done here. I will say, of the setups that we've been covering so far, this is maybe the first one that I would enjoy using. It's nice. He has a lot of tans and browns, which always excites me. A lot of neutral colors there.
Beige, huh? You're beigeophile.
I can't see what the top 2/3 of that Imagine poster are, but it does look kind of irritating to me. But I don't know,
he's
maybe
a John Lennon
pleasant.
fan, right?
Maybe, yeah. Or, well, the one last question I had is, why is there a light bar above the monitor?
I wondered that too. Yeah, that's very strange.
Is it shining down on the monitor, to add some glare?
Usually you would have a light bar in a dark room to like add a pop of color behind the displays, but it's also on the side display, not on the one in the center. So it wouldn't be doing that very well. And it also appears to be a very bright room with what looks like a lot of natural light coming in. So I don't know when you would need to use it. I'm also confused by this strange object he has on the far left on the sort of side table. There's like this big
robot hand
wooden
for
stand
holding cables. If you look on the story on Cult of Mac, if you scroll down, there's a zoomed out view of the room, because I was curious about that as well, and it's a hand for holding cables.
A what? A hand?
It's like a robot hand for holding cables, and there's a pegboard to the left of it.
Oh, okay. I didn't look at the zoomed out photo.
Yeah, you have to look at that on Cult of Mac.
I would say the rest of the room looks pretty nice. You could do with a little better cable management on the left here, but
well, I would say, Griffin, if you're a beige fan, then yeah, you're going to like this interior decor. Because it's a symphony of beige.
It really is. It is. It's a standing desk. I tried a standing desk, had all these good intentions, and it just hurt my back and my feet, so I went back to slouching.
Well, I thought there was some research that standing desks were actually not good for you. Like, we've all assumed it was virtuous in some way to have a standing desk, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, because standing stationary is almost as bad as sitting.
Right, yeah.
But what you need is, if you want to have a standing desk, I mean, first of all, you also need a standing chair, or like a very tall chair that you can't sit down when you want to. But I think really the best thing that you can do is get like one of those like slim treadmills that you can walk on.
Have either of you tried?
That makes me think of some Wall Street broker.
Yeah.
Like buy, sell. When you're doing your workout as you're ordering trades.
I actually have one of those. Like it's like a special kind of treadmill that's like really, really slim and portable, and it folds and it collapses and all of that. And I was thinking this would be great to use with the Vision Pro, because I can have my windows like blown up full size in front of me, like spaced all around me. But the problem is it vibrates so much when I'm walking on it that I don't have a good spot for my keyboard. So I was thinking, well, maybe what I need to do is I need to like build a custom stand that has like really tall legs so I can rest my keyboard and trackpad on.
You should give that.
But that's an idea that I've had in the back of my head.
I
for
would
a
be very
while.
interested to see that on the show here. So I think we should do that.
We need the how-to right now.
Maybe I'll cover it on a setups.
That's a great idea. All right, let's table that. Let's move on quickly to the review section. Can you breeze through this real quick, Griffin? Because we're running out of time. You're going to show us Longplay,
sure.
which I've never heard of, but it's Longplay for Mac.
This is using the Apple Music API to basically tap into your music library as you have it. But it's an alternative music player. And the idea here is that it replicates like the method of listening to music as if it were a vinyl record. So you can start playing an album here, and it'll just play start to finish. It won't really show you the track list. You can skip forward, or there's actually a setting where you can disable the ability to skip forward. Listen like the old times, no skipping tracks. You can only pick an entire album at once, or you can afford yourself like a little bit of modern features there.
Do you have to turn the LP over halfway through?
I wish that would be really cool. But
Well, I'm totally confused. Don't you get this anyway? I mean, can't you just hit if you pull up an album in Apple Music, you just hit the play button at the top, right, and it'll play. Won't it play the whole album?
yeah, but this is like a fun specialized interface for it. It shows your album art really big. You have like this album inspector where it'll like show you all the tracks and these special stats. The fun thing is that it has a bunch of different ways you can arrange your library as well. So you can sort it by how much you're addicted to the tracks, how bright the album artwork is. You can sort them by negligence. So, music that you haven't listened to in a while, by how recent you've played them. And you can tie this into another feature where you can have like albums that you listen to a lot, like physically bigger than other ones.
Oh,
So you can
That's
really
nice.
have like
cool.
a big mix
I like
here.
that.
Like,
Yeah, that's a good visualization.
so you see like a big mosaic of album artwork, and like some of them are really huge, some of them are really small based on how much you like them. Like you can size them by star rating, so your favorites are bigger.
That's cool.
A lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Is
You can
is this yours? You're into Holst and ABBA?
Yes. Yes, this is my own
Interesting.
personal music library that I'm showing here. Pink Floyd, like it is a very eclectic taste in music that I have. My favorite musical artist, which I can't play here because of copyright reasons,
yeah.
is an indie rock band called Driftless Pony Club, and I will say that nobody I have introduced them to has ever liked it. But
An acquired
it
taste.
dominates my Apple Music replay every year. They have a little, just like the music app, there's a mini player that you can bring up, so you can minimize the main window and just show the mini player. That'll show you like the track list, and it has some cool animations here. Like when you flip it around, it does like that physical flip animation that like
That's nice. There's a sort of there is an old school feel to this. It reminds me of old Apple software, which I'm very partial to.
Yeah, I liked cover flow when you used to be able to scrub through
Yeah, exactly.
the albums.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, cover flow. So they've had a iPhone and iPad app, and I think even a Vision Pro app for a while now. But this is the first time that they're launching their Mac app, and it's a very nicely made Mac app. So
How many stars out of 5 would you give this, Griffin?
I'd give it 4 stars out of 5. It's a very nice app.
Is it free or do you have to pay for it?
It is a one-time cost of I think $25 on the Mac, and they might have a different pricing situation on iOS. But yeah, one time, no subscription. It's really nice. It's a fun way to browse your music library, and I've been using it. I've really been using it a lot. I've been on the test flight for a few weeks now, but it's really gorgeous. If you carefully curate your music library with perfect album artwork, I even design my own album artwork if I don't like the stock artwork that it comes
Wow.
with.
That's like
it really puts it.
That's like in
forward.
the old days of tapes, isn't it? When you made tapes, you used to make your own
Mixtapes.
mixtapes. Yeah. Well, or when you pirated something, like you copied somebody's
Oh, yeah.
album, and then you'd have to, but then you'd have to photocopy the
The album art.
the album artwork, yeah, and then write on the spine,
I have photocopied some of these. I have in my music library a lot of old recordings of the Ohio University Marching 110. And to get the artwork for it, like these old, 50-year-old vinyl records, I found like a book in a library that had pictures of all of them. So I scanned that page of the book and then cropped them. And that's how I was able to get
You're
some
very
of these.
dedicated. My albums are a horrible mess. My archive, and in fact, I mean, I don't really play anything these days except through the HomePod. So almost all of my music requests are verbal. Like I just tell Siri what to play. So I haven't looked at one of these players for a long time. But I used to love albums and I had a huge record collection. And my dad had a huge record collection. Me and my brothers were all, vinyl junkies. We had an amazing record collection. Of course, most of them weren't put back in their sleeves. And they were in a big pile, stacked up in front of the record player. And then, of course, they'd all be full of dust. And, you put something on and then it would go flying, the needle would go flying across the record. Because you have to get up and pull a huge clump of dust off the thing. But I do kind of miss that whole ritual, cleaning the records and stacking them up. You remember sometimes you'd be able to stack one LP on top of another one. And so that when it finished, the side it would drop down and then play the second record.
Well, I thought there was a skeuomorphic opportunity here. I thought you were going to show us a mode where you can actually watch the record on the turntable. And I was thinking, when you said Vision Pro, there's that Vision Pro app where you can play video on like 3D retro TV sets. I thought this was going to be like that with like turntables, and you could get classic Technics decks, and you could, be mixing and scratching your albums. I haven't used the Vision Pro,
but I think the iOS app does have some graphics like that where it'll show the artwork like spinning on a record.
Love it.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it does.
All right. Well, nice pick. Yeah. And obviously you can get this in the Mac App Store.
Yes, in the Mac App Store.
Or maybe download it also from the developer. Is there a URL?
Yeah, I'll put the URL in the show notes.
Okay. All right. Well, very nice. I forgot the listener question. And it is, should I install the iOS beta?
I will say that the betas are getting better. Beta 3 has been much less buggy than the previous beta. But I will say, I think if Apple continues their 2-week cycle, next week will probably be beta 4. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the public beta. They said the public beta will be launching in July, and they're running out of weeks in July to launch it. Yeah. So I'd say wait for beta 4, the public beta. That'll probably be a good one to jump
I haven't had too
onto.
many problems, it's been pretty good for me. Only a few things haven't worked, but in general, it's been really stable. Like in the past, it's, sometimes one of the betas has, almost bricked my phone, and it's made it completely unusable. But so far, they've been okay. There's only been a few glitches, a few problems. If you really want to, but if you haven't already installed it, you probably are by this point just wait another week and get the public beta. It's going to be a lot more stable.
Well, the thing I would say about this is, if you want to, then fine. If you just can't wait, then fine. But the thing you can't do if you install a developer beta is moan to developers if their app doesn't work, because the whole point of a developer beta is to give the developers time to make their apps work. So that's what you're buying into. It's kind of like if you're just really excited to have the new thing, then knock yourself out. But just be aware that things are not going to work, and that's not the developer's fault. That's just the one thing I would say. And from having had this like fitness app that we did for years, and I would get people this time of year, endless people griping about stuff that didn't work on the app, and then I would say, well, what version of iOS are you running? And then they were, well, the beta, and it's like, well, that's not shipped software, and they expect it to work. So I would say, from a developer's perspective, if you are installing it, then it's sort of at your risk, and you can't expect developers to have fixed everything yet.
And it is actually like Apple prevents developers from releasing or acknowledging the existence of the betas until the new software is released. So if there's a big bug in a third-party app, unless it's something that they can patch over without using any of the new APIs, like you might be completely out of luck. Like a few third-party apps that I use have just been completely broken this beta cycle. Yeah. And it's like, well, I hope it can be fixed, but it might not be. So you can't depend on that, really.
Well, I've been running the betas on the iPad too. That seems pretty good, and the beta on my Mac, that one is okay. There's a few things that didn't work, but nothing that was really mission critical. But then again, I'm not running a whole ton of apps. I'm not running a whole bunch of different software. You know, it's usually the pre-installed stuff, the Apple's Mail client, you know, Safari. The usual stuff, so there's nothing really, you know, custom that can go, and it's been pretty good, and I think it's well worth running the betas. Like, you know, otherwise, if you put it on, I know there's you know, the professionals put it on a dedicated device, and if you're a software professional, you're probably working in this day in, day out. But for someone like me, there's not a lot of opportunity to experience the new OS without putting it on your main device. And it comes with a risk, of course, but I think it's worth it because, you know, you get to see all the new features and all the new things they're doing. So that's all the CultCast we have for you for this week. The fun continues. Graham Bauer is on Blue Sky at Graham Bauer, GrahamBower. I'm El Caney, don't even bother. Griffin is on Mastodon and Blue Sky at D. Griffin Jones. And you can go to the week-long discussion on our Discord, which you can find going to support.thecultcast.com. That's support.thecultcast.com. Please send us a text using the link at the top of the show notes to ask a question, and we'll try to address it with our usual rigor next week.
I will say that we've been getting a lot of texts, you know, again, complimenting us. They like the new variety that we're adding to the show. I will say, if you'd like to compliment us,
yeah,
you should do that through the Apple Podcast review system.
Right.
Give us 5 stars and write about how you like it there, and then text us to send us.
That's
your
right. Yeah, double up. That's a good
questions.
point. Yeah. Please do. Leave us a review on Apple's whatever it is. Okay. All right, that's all we have for you. So new shows come out every Thursday night, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.
Goodbye.
See you.
Bye.
All right, sorry for screwing that up.
Oh no, you're good. I think it's funny when it goes a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we should change your script for the outro to be like, oh, you know, follow us on social media, and if you want it more from me, sign up for the Call to Mac Today newsletter.
Okay, good point. I'll use that one. Maybe you can edit that in. Actually, you know what? Let's just keep it.
Yeah. And we'll put this in too.
Yeah, the Cult of Mac newsletter. You know, the stuff I listen to is the like serial, the highly produced narrative podcasts, the ones that tell a story, rather than the round robin discussion type shows that we're doing.
Yeah, I listen. The ones that really inspired me. I don't know if you know Michael Hobbs, the journalist. He has a Maintenance Phase and If Books Could Kill, and these are amazing podcasts. I learned editing from listening to his show because he does that same thing of going from 3 hours down to 1. And so it's like and the format is 2 presenters, and each week one presenter explains a topic to the other presenter who asks questions. And that was going to be the format of Apple Core, but Charlie has yet to prepare an episode. So it's always me explaining something. It's always me explaining something to Charlie. But that was the idea, and very much inspired by Michael Hobbs.
I'd like to check those out.
I would definitely try If Books Could Kill. I think it's really great. They do. They look at like airport books and break them down in terms of all of their bullshit. You know, because most of these like airport bestsellers, like non-fiction, are absolute nonsense. Like Malcolm, they did one about Malcolm Gladwell's Blink just this week. And it was very, very funny, you know, unpicking it and looking at all the nonsense. The one they did on Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, was an eye-opener. Like, it's really shocking, the stuff they unpacked there. It's the format, the way that it's done, the way that they take a real friendly, fun conversation, but edit it to keep it pacey and keep it on topic. I just think that Michael Hobbs is the master at that.
Okay. And he's a journalist, you said?
Yeah. And his other show, he used to write for the Huffington Post, and he wrote this story about how diets don't work for the Huffington Post that became massively viral. And off the back of that, he ended up doing this show, Maintenance Phase, about health and fitness, but mostly about like diet bullshit and stuff like this. And it's become a really great show for
Body positivity.
raising kind of fat awareness and fat acceptance in like a. I've learned so much from it and realized a lot of my prejudices on the subject. It's like a brilliant, very educational, fun show, and it sounds like it couldn't possibly be fun, but because Michael Hobbs and his co-host are so good at what they do, it's like a really fun and fascinating listen. And that one, for an Apple angle, they did a brilliant episode on Maintenance Phase about the what's the Nature's Natural Pantry or something. I don't know if you remember when Apple launched the Apple Watch. They were promoting this Australian girl who had an Apple Watch app called Nature's Pantry that was about curing your cancer through eating raw vegetables. Completely, in the UK, it's illegal to claim that you can cure cancer. This was absolutely bullshit health claims. They had her on the WWDC. They pushed her app on the homepage of apple.com, and she was claiming that she had cancer and had been cured of cancer by just eating healthy. And Apple went all in on pushing this. And then it turned out that she was like a pathological liar and none of this was true.
Well, that sounds like Steve Jobs.
Yeah, kind of
That
ironic
sounds-
considering that's how Steve Jobs died.
Right. And Apple had done basically zero vetting on this story before they went all in on promoting it. And it's a brilliant episode and a very fascinating story, really well told.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to check those out. I'll definitely check those out.